Welcome to IT Live, presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. I'm Joe Cook. That's Justin Wells. That's Ian Boyd. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And it is notification season, basically. Every time the phone buzzes, we're checking it. That means you need to always be checking InsideTexas.com. Go to that first link in our description. Sign up for just $1. You can also use this promo code right here, or excuse me, QR code right here to get to that link. $1 gets you all the portal, recruiting, Citrus Bowl, Sharon Moore, everything info going on right now with the Texas Longhorns. So go sign up, go join. Can't wait to see everybody over there. We'll be able to go into a lot more detail, but it's one of those times a year, Justin, where we got a lot of different news going on. The two things that getting discombobulated. It looks like Derek Williams via Hayes Fawcett announced that he's going to enter the transfer portal. And that's, I think after a very, very bright 2023, injury at 2024, and then, different usage in 2025. Sad to see him go after what seemed to be a bright start to his career.
The Raptor?
Oh, yeah.
It was a fun ride. Listen, I think that injury really, really hurt him. He was on the track. I mean, wasn't he starting in front of Makuba 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, whatever, or last year? That injury kind of derailed him. And then we saw the emergence of Makuba and Jelani McDonald and Michael Taft, and he just, sometimes that's what happens when you get dinged up and years stack up, you get recruited over. And so I think for Derek, he just needs a fresh start. I think he could be a very, very good safety at the next level. He's just going to need a fresh start. Kind of hate to see him leave, but I think he's had his time in Austin, and now he wants to try something else.
It's not good. This is not one that you wanted to see.
No, this is good. This is really good depth. And what do we talk about all the time? You want to win a national championship in the new college football, you got to have depth at every position across the board. Derek Williams was really good depth.
I mean, hypothetically, if he could get back on form to what he showed as the previous year, he looked like one of the most talented safeties that Texas has had this century. So we don't know if he can get back there. But if he can, and he does, at a rival school or something, or like a competitive school, I'm not trying to suggest he's going to like Oklahoma or A&M or something. I have no idea. That's going to be bad. That's going to be a bad look for Texas.
And Ian, I'm not saying this to like poke and prod, but you were already a little down. You were down on the defensive secondary entering this season because the IDR and a few different things, happening had you a little concerned. And Littleton was able to perform, obviously, but it seemed like there were a lot of other things that went on over the course of the year, including, a one-game absence for Malik Muhammad and just lack of quality depth at corner early in the year to where, okay, maybe you were off on the Littleton aspect, but a lot of what you were concerned about with the secondary did, in fact, take place.
I mean, Littleton was a little more hit or miss than that, I think. Like, he was pretty good. He has a knack for playmaking, but I don't think he still has some ways to go, I think, to be it wasn't like that. He was still presented some issues for them, I think, some limitations. Going into next year, I mean, Williams, you would have hoped Williams would be one of your reliable veterans that would give you a chance at having guys with know-how on the back end that know the scheme and know how to adjust the game plan and adjust week to week. So not good. Getting McDonald back would be huge. If you get McDonald back, you still at least have one guy like that. But McDonald and Williams back on form, that potentially have been the best safety tandem Texas has had since like 2017 or something. That could have been dynamite. And that's not going to happen.
Yeah, some of it was obviously injury. Some of it was few different things, but unfortunate to see him go. What about this comment from Dustin Phillips? Texas roster management is poor. They need a real GM. I mean, it depends on what the head coach wants, and the head coach Justin.
That's a touchy one. That's a touchy one. Please don't ask me that one. I don't want to say that on live.
Well, it's whatever. Okay.
The roster management is poor, yes, and it starts at the top with Sark. And guess who else is accountable for that? The general manager, Brandon Harris.
But at the same time, like Sark has often said, we know what Brandon Harris's title is, but he's not the one calling the shots as far as. And I think that's what.
Right, he doesn't do the normal general manager stuff. Right, because he's not a normal general manager. He's a former football player and former coach. Those are two totally different roles. You need to have an understanding of contracts, negotiation, self-awareness, reading the room. Those are all general manager intangibles you must have in that role. So
it's an interesting dynamic just because there's so many people in modern college football who are like, there's too much for the head coach to take on. And I think that's justifiable. And I'm not trying to get into the the whole play calling thing, but if Sark's going to be the play caller and he's going to be the head coach, how do you get better at those areas? And Ian, I'm left to wonder if that's not going full on, Jim Nagy or anything like that, but like still letting the general manager, no matter who it is, whether it's remains Harris or if it's somebody else, letting the general manager shoulder a little bit more of the personnel stuff.
I don't know what the breakdowns are in the football office of who does what exactly, but I think the issue is one of organization and vision at the top. So like the play caller thing, we've gone over this for years now, it feels like. But one of the problems is that there's this idea that like, hey, Sark, if you would just give up the call sheet, you'd have more time and attention to pay to these other matters. My thought is if Sark had the time and vision and energy, if Sark had the energy and the vision to get better roster management going, to either oversee or to delegate it more effectively, then he would find the time for it because it's important. I don't think the call sheet is so heavy I can't put it down. I can't put this away and focus on roster management. I think it's that he lacks the vision and the energy to do a better job of roster management. And that's why. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's
you sound like
we're putting the cart before the horse.
Butters kept saying, know what I'm saying? Know what I'm saying? That's what you sound like when you're like, know what I'm saying?
Like Butters from South Park.
You know what I'm saying? And the guy would be like, you know what I'm saying? And Butters would be like, yes, I understand what you're saying. The guy would, come on, brother. You know what I'm saying? Yes, I understand what you're.
What a brutal.
Listen, no.
What a brutal undercutting of my brilliant point.
Ian's right. Ian's totally right. Sark is trying to maybe wear too many hats. You need to be more of a CEO. Mac Brown had that thing down. That he understood the delegation part. And I think Sark's gonna take more of more urgency in that department. Like if a position coach says, hey, Sark, our room is good. We're good this spring. We're good this summer. We probably don't need a guy in the portal. Sark's going to go, let's double check. Let's even triple check. Let's go check on a few things. He's not going to make that assumption like he did last year that Kyle Flood had that O-line room ready. He will know you don't get that anymore. Sark is going to be a lot more hands-on in that regard.
Ian, you had a point.
It was better in the previous off seasons, so I'm sure he will be more hands-on and do a better job this off season than he did last off season. But again, I think Mac Brown did those things because those were his talents, and that's what he was interested in. I don't think Sark shares that same vision or drive or talent for that kind of CEO headship. Also, I'll tell you, man, the resources available to the University of Texas head coach, just like the pro bono assistance you could get in managing these things, if you had the capacity to take in advice and counsel and help, is massive. The problem at the University of Texas is always having the organizational skill and vision to actually marshal all of the resources available to you, because otherwise you just get drowned with all the competing interests and voices, you know? So you almost wonder if they should go get like a Fortune 500 CEO and just make him like the head coach, but then put him in charge of hiring all the people, if that would actually be better.
And that would, I mean, do you remember
it's called the NFL?
Yeah. Well, do you remember there were rumors of like somebody, some like real NFL reporter, or maybe it was like a real college reporter, said it was like Condoleezza Rice was interviewing for a job. Like I remember a few years ago, and that kind of speaks to what you're saying, Ian. I think you would maybe find a different character than Condoleezza Rice to do that type of thing.
Someone from the business world, not
Correct.
Someone from the bureaucracy world.
Correct. And that's
someone that's actually used to wielding power and telling people what to do and getting results, not someone who's used to overseeing a process and then figuring out how to avoid blame when it goes to hell.
Right.
That's college football has more than enough of that without importing more of it.
And that's the political minute. Looking at some of the comments we have here, you got a few different things to touch on. Just kind of go back and forth. Would you rather have a better recruiting or developing running back coaching position, preferably both at the same time? I mean, yeah, you always want both with Texas, but I think at this point you're hoping that the offensive line in front of these backs kind of makes the development easier for them, and then you just get the talent. Justin, I'm kind of curious, considering you've watched a lot of recruiting dynamics at running back positions over the years, what your thoughts on this is.
Yeah, this is actually a great question. We could talk a lot about this. I think this is more philosophy based.
Right.
Honestly, your running back coach needs to be a multi-position recruiter in a sense. Like he's going to get two of his guys each year, but ideally he would be able to help you with other places. And honestly, that's kind of the value that Tashard Choice had. He didn't just recruit the two running backs that he had brought in every cycle. He was helping with a lot of Georgia kids, with a lot of Florida kids. He was the primary contact on a lot of those guys. He's just a relationship builder. And so you want a little bit of both, but honestly, if the O-line is great and the quarterback is good, the run game should just sort of follow suit. Like it shouldn't be something that other position coaches have way more responsibilities. They have a lot more stuff that they have to handle and take care of. The running back coach should be one of your elite recruiters and also obviously understand the game and understand, the nuances of teaching the position. Bijan will be the first to tell you he learned from Stan Drayton and he learned from Tashard Choice, two different styles. He learned two different things. I think that's what you want, but honestly, that running back coach needs to be a good recruiter. He doesn't have to be a rainmaker, but man, he needs to be able to go in and do just more than just, like a Jabbar Jaloot guy we have talked about a lot, former running back coach from Louisiana. You want a guy like that can go into Louisiana and talk to a defensive tackle. He can go into Edna Carr and talk to a safety, Aiden Hall. Like you want your running back coach to have an ability kind of to do many things.
There are a couple more questions I think to get to, and then it's a little bit of a smorgasbord of everything here today. Going back and forth between running back. A-Cool has a couple really good questions, and I like this one. Could Phil Simi play some star? We reported that Orel Mack plans to enter the portal. We're standing by that. We will see what happens with that. But we have Mack leaving, or Mack planning to leave, Williams planning to leave. Could Phil Simi play star? And Ian, he is super athletic. He did play star And that's kind of maybe why that could be his best fit as opposed to safety.
I believe that Eric was reporting throughout the end of the year that Phil Simi was getting looks there, was a possible solution there.
And one quick thing, like he played there, and sometimes that's just safeties rotating on three high. But he basically played some star throughout the season. Could he do that full time, you think?
Well, so the trick is, so there's a couple factors there. One is that it was like, okay, Littleton is awesome. He's probably going to move to corner, right?
Yes.
And then there was also Dwayne Aquina reorganized the room when he took over. And so he put the safeties together. And he also oversaw the entire department in a single meeting room. And we have to see if Aquina is even sticking around, and the extent to which Kenodo Hudson and Mark Orfei agree with Aquina's evaluations of these guys. And then also, if they replace Aquina, who comes in and how does he see everything? So things were trending in the direction of Phil Simi being an option at star, Littleton at corner. They could get a new defensive pass game coordinator tomorrow that sees it totally differently, right? And it could all flip on its head. So that's a confounding factor. For Phil Simi, he's one of the guys that I need to get a look at with our highly valuable All-22 access, because he's not a guy that I watched off the ball as much this year when he played. So I'd like to see how it looked. There's a lot of things that you can notice. That's secondary above all else when you watch All-22 and you see what guys are looking at and where they're aligned. So that's where you see a lot of Taft's value is a lot more obvious in All-22. And some of McDonald's shortcomings were more obvious in All-22. Whereas if you just watch the ball, the only time you see McDonald is when he flies in to do something really amazing and impressive. So I'll circle back on that later.
I think Phil Simi stays at safety, especially with Derek Williams leaving and with Wardell Mack potentially leaving. I think
there's that too. Yeah.
I think Phil Simi stays at safety. And and understandably, I don't know if he's ideal at nickel, because you got linebacker concepts there. I think that's why Jordan Johnson-Rebel has got a lot of late run there in practice. And I think that's kind of where they're envisioning that. I think they'd like to see JJR, who can play both safety spots as well. I think Phil Simi is probably a better fit back at that boundary safety, if that's where he was before. And I don't know about nickel. I think they envision JJR, but like Ian said, if this hinges on Dwayne Aquina, if he stays or if he goes, they're going to redo a lot of that room.
Here's another one that
Jordan Johnson-Rebel, David.
There's two more things here. One is that Kobe Black was awesome against A&M
and Arkansas last two games.
I didn't even notice. I watched that. Some of the things that Kobe Black looked good at seemed like they might translate to safety or star. And then, or maybe he's actually one of the best corners. There's so much in flux. And then Littleton, if he can play corner, put him at corner. But some of the areas where he's shown brightest this last year, like his ability to find the ball, plays on the ball, made me wonder if Littleton is that your next Makuba? Maybe he should move to safety.
I like those coverage skills, man. And you're a corner till you're
on that, Joe.
Yeah,
it's harder, but I don't know if that's where Littleton was.
Maximized. You're worried about
most impactful plays were not coverage; they were breaking on the ball and doing safety.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk about Michigan for a second. They've got a freshman corner named Jaden Sanders that came in and played and started as a freshman and played really, really well. If you were to bring him in get him to the portal, he comes to Texas. Littleton stays at star. Littleton maybe backs up and gets some more run at safety, because you'll have Cade Phillips on one side, you'd have a Jaden Sanders on the other. I honestly think it's a fluid day-to-day situation. I think this is just kind of how this thing is ever evolving, and they're trying to this is the next few months where they're trying to pick and choose where they want to put these guys the most. I think with the portal, with the new coaching fires, with all that stuff, you go find you a cornerback one. Littleton could stay at nickel. Littleton could go back and play some safety with Jelani this fall. Like, I think it gives you more options.
One quick thing, since we're talking DBs, then we'll hit an ad break. Didn't see Zealous Hicks. Does he stay? I wouldn't worry about Zealous Hicks. That was a reclassification, a guy who got to Texas a little bit earlier. And just a young player. Played a lot on scout team. I remember walking by him and thinking, like, okay, that's a big looking dude. So maybe he fits on the boundary at some point or in the box, I guess.
He's tall. He needs to add on to that frame.
I don't have any major concerns about him. Before we keep going, got to show some love to our sponsor, and that is Academy Sports and Outdoors. The holiday season is here, and Academy Sports and Outdoors has the legendary gifts you need at undefeatable prices every day. Shop in-store or online at academy.com to save on gifts on everybody's list, from football jerseys and basketball hoops to fire pits and deer stands. The most wonderful time of the year happens here, so this Christmas, give the gift of fun from Academy Sports and Outdoors. And I love Academy. I wish the dog with the sweater was still in there. And but again, maybe the next bit of ad copy we get from Academy will include a dog with a sweater on it. We'll keep it a little bit more Texas focused before we get into some of the Michigan stuff, just because that's big for that being Texas' opponent and big in college football. But trying to check that out. We did get a Facebook question from Adrian Prado. What is the possibility of Sark being able to steal Frank Wilson from LSU? Seems like a home run hire if possible. I would say, Justin, that the running back focus at that running back coach is on one person right now, and it's not Frank Wilson.
Yeah, like we mentioned earlier, Jabbar Jalouk is the guy that we're hearing the most about. The former running back coach he's been in a lot of places, but he's from Louisiana. He went to Edna Carr, home of Edward Howard Jr., the 2026 signee for Texas DB that Orfe did a great job on. So I think that's going to be a big question. I don't know exactly where they're going to go in that way. So
it just doesn't seem like, too much Louisiana today. It seems like Jaluke again is the one with the
I think Jabbar's the guy, but we've heard some reputable stuff that Frank Wilson could be. Honestly, do we even know if Lane Kiffin's letting Wilson leave? Like, we don't know that right now. Everything we have points to Jalouk being a major candidate right now. And then the first thing Texas fans say when they hear that is he bringing Jaden Ball? You know, what's going on with Jaden Ball? And we don't really know if Jaden Ball is even a factor right now when it comes to the portal and NIL. And we can't really say that anyway. But no, Jalouk seems to be the guy that's getting the most run right now. A lot's going to happen in the next 24 to 48 hours, 72 hours. I think these spots, you don't just let them linger. But I think Sark's also going to try to get a big hire. He did a great job with Tashard Choice. That was a big hire. And I think, just talking to people inside the program, they want him to go out there and get another of those big time hires.
Looking at we can do a little bit of portal talk here because we had a interview posted by Adam Gormley at Rivals, and A. Cool brings this up. Sounds like Malachi Lee's commitment and signing with Michigan was heavily relationship driven. Were we the clear second place for him, and how quickly could we see him back out of his LOI? I'll encourage people to go read the article. I don't think it's not like Adam called them, I believe, and it's like, yeah, we're deciding. We're not even 24 hours out from this yet. But to that point, Malachi is someone that I've talked to. I talked to his high school coach, talked to, Justin, you've talked to him as well. And he's a kid who does truly value relationships. It is someone who really does remember who came out to Hawaii to see him. And that's tough for a lot of coaches, just because you are spending 2 full days basically out there. And that messes with your countable days for visiting schools, stuff like that. Sharon Moore was the only head coach apparently who went out there. Kyle Flood, I believe, went out there with Johnny Nansen. But Sharon Moore was the only head coach to go out there. Michigan recruited him like a priority throughout the cycle. Texas recruited him hard. It's not, I don't want to say it was like a fail recruitment. It's just they got beat, and that's something that happens. Right. But now the guy who was most pivotal probably in that recruitment is unemployed.
He's already left.
Yeah.
Well, no. The most pivotal guy was the D-line assistant who took the Syracuse job a few days ago. That was his connection. Obviously Moore was the only head coach, and that was significant, that came out there. But the closest guy he was close to was that assistant D-line coach that took the Syracuse job a few days ago. So this actually has been building. And we've actually reached out to Malachi for anything. And as soon as we get something, we'll have it at InsideTexas.com. But like you said, this isn't even 24 hours yet. The paint hasn't even dried yet. There's a shock. This sent shock waves through Ann Arbor for some. Some, I think, we're seeing it coming. Others.
It sent shock waves because whether you saw this coming or not, there have been developments in the immediate aftermath that have that whole town
on edge.
Yeah, on edge. Yeah. So it's worth circling around Michigan news for the next month or two because there's a lot to fall out there. I think the athletic director is meeting with the Board of Regents. The whole thing over there is on fire.
It's fun. What else are we going to talk about? We've kind of touched on the running back stuff. We touched on a few of the different portal moves that were made today. That's the big. Go ahead.
I was going to ask Malachi when Coach Moore came out there, did he have a little blonde with him?
Oh no. Okay.
But I'm not going to. I might ask you guys in fun, but I'm not going to ask Malachi.
So
I might ask his coach.
I think we can go a couple different ways with the Michigan thing because
wait. Can we hit that secondary question first? Because that was a little more.
Yes, the question.
We just pivot into this.
Okay,
yeah.
we'll do this. I think we hit our next ad break, and then we can talk a lot about not only the Citrus Bowl but the Michigan situation. So, Case Sankey, why are we obsessed with taking people who show good coverage skills and were recruited at corner and move them to safety?
They're not. They're actually the opposite. You're a corner until you're a safety. You play cornerback. That's the number one priority. And then you slide back. Then you go to nickel. Then you go to safety. It's actually, he's asking, it's the opposite. Texas will recruit corners through and through. And then until you're not a corner, then you get moved back to safety.
I'll say I love moving corners to safety because I want my safeties to have as much coverage skill as possible.
Amen. And some guys grow out of the position. People thought Kobe Black, they thought Kobe Black was going to kind of potentially grow out of the position. That kid's been big for a long time. Now, he hasn't necessarily. Sometimes they grow out of it. But Joe's right, and Ian's right. Grayson Littleton, he shows enough cover skills. Listen, it's hard to find corners with those skills. You can find 24 safeties in a portal. How many cornerback ones with experience and skins on the wall can you find? There aren't many, guys. They're hard to find. So that's why you take as many corners as you can. Make sure you've got that stuff locked down. Then you can start to play the guys out from nickel to safety and back.
So people are noting corners, those ones.
Yes, a Manny Muhammad, a Jahdae Barron. They'll come up and hit you.
If you can't tackle and you can't cover, then you're just a bust and you don't play football anymore.
Most of them can at least cover. I know specific NFL corners that cannot tackle to save their lives, and they will tell you, "I'm not paid to tackle. I'm paid to cover." They'll tell you that.
It's perfect for when you got a guy that's a smart, versatile, tough football player, but then he just can't quite hang at corner with top athletes, and then you slide him inside, and now he's awesome.
Yeah, and because that position, even if there are some athletic deficiencies, he's got help. There's safeties, there's another corner, there's another linebacker. That helps out a little bit. It's a challenging position because you're not manned up or you will be manned up, but that guy's got a lot of room to operate if you're in the slot and even some tight ends. But you got a lot of help, and that helps in that regard. I'm trying to see what else we had before get into the Michigan aspect of everything. Anything else y'all saw, or is it time to get into the maize and blue after this ad break? I'll take that.
I think Ian wants to reminisce about his home.
I think this is just, I mean, it's tragic, but it's so intriguing.
It's very tragic. It's very tragic because that girl is getting completely embarrassed. He's getting embarrassed. Sharon's wife and kids and family are getting embarrassed. It is tragic, but social media is ruthless, and that's why they've kind of gone to this place.
All right, we'll talk about it in just a second, but first, Andre the lawyer.
Texans know when you're injured, there's one name that gets results: Andre the lawyer. Trust the team that has secured millions for their clients and helped thousands of Texans win their injury cases. Car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on-the-job injuries, wrongful deaths. Don't let the insurance companies tell you what your claim is worth. Andre the lawyer will fight for you. His principal office is in Dallas, but they serve Texans throughout the state. So don't wait. Call 214-444-8808. That's 214-444-8808. Contact info is in the description.
All right. So I'm sitting here yesterday and what was it, about 3:30 or something like that? I have Thamel on notifications and the phone buzzes, and it's sources: Sharon Moore fired for cause, with Adam Schefter, who's like, oh, Michigan, let me put my name on that real quick. And then I think Chris Lowe or something like, or Dan Wetzel. And this is a huge job. This is now, I think, throughout the whole cycle. I mean, it's a top 5 job. I don't really want to get into the rankings of it between Penn State, Florida, LSU, and all that. Definitely a top 5 job. I don't think it's ahead of any of those. But this is not only Texas's opponent, but this is a team that is going to be on Texas' schedule in 2027. And this is a team that, you know, just by looking at the ranking, is within the sphere of Texas competition for playoff spots. Now they lose a head coach. Now they're basically going to have to flush, seems like, as much Harbaugh as they can, because all the Harbaugh that's, well, Ian, I see you make a face. All the Harbaugh that's left is burning the program down.
No. I mean, they could go hire Jay Harbaugh as head coach tomorrow, and they might.
Jay
or John. Or John.
I don't think John. Jay would be a, let's just get somebody to salvage this. I don't know if they can wait for John. I don't know if John would
Lamar
come.
Jackson's gone sideways this year. I could see John Harbaugh getting the call.
I just don't think that that's going to work very well timeline wise.
Maybe they get the interim tag for a year until they prep the John Harbaugh hire.
Maybe. They're in a bad spot. How does
Kalen DeBoer tell him no?
Because he's at the best job in college football.
I agree. But you know the whole Michigan man thing.
He's not a Michigan man.
He's a South Dakota man.
So why is he so regarded in that in that?
He was almost hired by them when he was looking to get out of Washington and maximize on taking that program to the championship game. And he was talking to Michigan for the Michigan people, but the timeline didn't work out and he ended up taking Alabama.
Then he's not taking that job.
So everybody is like, hey, he was interested before and we just couldn't get him on board because we didn't know what Jim was going to do. So maybe he'd be interested now. I bet he's interested now. And he might be a little bit, but I don't think he's going to take that job.
No, I thought there was a connection.
The intriguing thing for me in all this is that I think if you listen and you go to the Wolverine or Michigan site, you look at some of the national talking heads, they're like, oh, this had been bubbling up, which is, I mean, kind of an indictment of obviously Moore and his personal decisions, but the fact that it drops today or yesterday is what makes it all crazy as a result. But
we have competing narratives for what happened. Correct.
Well, take it away, because you have the more Michigan connections and you pay attention to. I just look at it and like the maize and blue, especially compared to Ohio State. But you have a lot more connections to Michigan. So I'm letting you have the floor on this one.
So you have Josh Pate is out there
Right.
noting that this has been talked about as a job that is likely to come open for weeks. And there have been people hinting around the country like this is craziness is just about to get going. And some of them are like, well, yeah, we were talking about Michigan, which is, you didn't say that before, but
A little disingenuous.
Never
maybe.
wrong, just early. That type
It
of
seems likely though that people knew, right? And Josh Pate is putting his name on it. I've heard that Michigan was going to be open. Don't let Michigan tell you they didn't know. Okay. I believe my colleague Josh. Here's the narrative for Michigan. We got John Bacon. It's like the big guy around Michigan. He says Michigan investigated to some degree this back in the summer, talked to Moore and the other party. Won't throw any names out there. There's no need. And said, oh, no, there's nothing to see here. And Michigan was like, what do you want me to do? They say nothing's going on. Right? Sounds like a sloppy, lazy investigation by Michigan who did not want to find anything, is what it sounds like. Whether that's the case or not, we don't know. Okay. Then Bacon says that the other party changed their story and brought Michigan documentation of wrongdoing yesterday. Michigan received the document.
Is this the female party?
Not more.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ian, say yes.
Yeah. I think
the staff
I know
member
what you're
with,
trying
with
to do.
whom,
I just want to be clear.
the staff member with whom he was alleged to have had
Okay, fair
an
enough.
inappropriate relationship changed the story
Yeah.
and brought documentation to Michigan yesterday. Michigan gets the documentation and is, well, we got to do something now. Fires Moore. And then, things seem to have deteriorated from there in regards to Moore and his relationship to Michigan and sanity. Okay. Here's how you could potentially reconcile these accounts. Michigan's like, we investigated it. We just didn't have anything to go off of. Then we got all this evidence, so we had to act. You got the evidence yesterday. How long did you know that the staff member had the evidence and planned to bring it to you? There's some fuzzy. It's possible that Michigan is obfuscating that they knew this was coming for weeks. Is what I'm saying.
Weeks.
Yeah.
When we did a Zoom.
Although Moore does not seem to have anticipated that this was coming for weeks.
I disagree. Look at the Zoom.
His reaction was strong. He had a strong reaction if he thought this was coming.
That's putting it very lightly.
Look at his Zoom from Sunday for the Citrus Bowl. The Texas and Michigan coaches had a Zoom with the media. That guy, I remember seeing that screenshot from that Zoom and thinking, dude, what's wrong? Like, that guy looks that does not look like a guy that's upset that they got a Citrus Bowl bid and they didn't get a playoff bid. That looked like a guy that knew his fate at some point. He looked miserable and no one said anything. And I'm like, something's going on here. But it's anything like this. We're not in the Michigan ecosystem, so we don't understand what's going on behind the scenes, how the sausage made. But you could just tell Sunday when he did that Zoom, that guy looked awful. He looked like hell was there and it was about to clobber him. And then 3 days later, so I think Michigan's been doing this for weeks. I think he's known this for weeks, and it just started happening and come out in the last 24 hours.
I'm just fascinated that what a lot of other fan bases, and I know social media, like one spark can blow up an entire house, but a lot of other fan bases seem to have had this information, and
that's how it always works.
Yeah, and so for that to happen, that means Michigan friends. We're talking to Michigan friends. We're talking to Michigan State friends. We're talking to Ohio State friends, and there it goes. It's just crazy that I mean, Ian, I'm sorry, but like Michigan has a very poor track record over the last few years, at least of abiding by a lot of different regulations. And I'm not talking about Burgergate because I don't care about paying for a recruit's hamburger or something like that. And I know that, you know, the Stallions thing it's a pretty clear rule. You can't go to other schools and you can decipher signs.
They got much worse stuff than that.
You got much worse stuff.
They had a hockey coach with all these DUIs that they didn't fire for a long time, or at least one DUI or something. They had all these allegations
with the stalking thing, or just the federal charges. Like, there's a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah, there's that. There's that. There's Jawan Mitchell and his buffoonery.
Or Jawan Howard, yeah.
Oh, that's right. Sorry, not Jawan. Jawan Mitchell was a portal linebacker for Texas who has nothing to do with any of this. I'm sorry, Jawan Mitchell. Jawan Howard, right. Jawan Howard was a buffoon. He was slapping opposing coaches. Yeah, their athletic department is a mess. Their president was fired, like, was it 7 years ago, Schlissel, for, wait for it, inappropriate relations with a subordinate.
Oh, man.
His replacement, Santo Ono, was there for a couple of years and then decided, I want to get out of here. Was given the job at Florida, but then was nixed by the Board of Regents for being too woke because of his support for DEI initiatives at Michigan, which, by the way, you cannot be president of Michigan if you don't support DEI initiatives. So he's nixed. Now they have an interim president. They may have to fire their athletic director today because he's overseeing a clown show.
They don't want him to hire the next guy.
So everybody's so eager to be like, what's next for Michigan? Kalen DeBoer? Can they steal Jesse Minter before the NFL gets him? There's a chance that they may end up with like Jay Harbaugh or Biff Poggi for a year as interim. I mean, they are in a bad place.
The interim thing, I think, was because the interim thing worked for Stanford because it's Stanford. And as much as Texas and Michigan people like to think, oh, we're on par, it's a completely different ball game when you're talking about Stanford. They recruit different players just because of the academic stuff. They recruit, just different profiles of players compared to what Michigan, and some overlap, but just they have to have a lot of different considerations to where, especially when you lose a coach in April, you just want to keep the ship steady as best you can. At the same time, you have a galvanizing figure in Andrew Luck that nobody else has. So that, I forgot what the point I was going to make was. So it sounded like it was going the right direction.
We've had a lot going on this morning, Joe. We really have.
Oh man.
Yesterday hit us hard and now we're just trying to recover.
I got it. So yeah, why you can't do the interim year. If you do the interim year, you're not in the ACC. You're not the Pacific Coast ACC team. You're the Big Ten, and you're a flagship program in that conference. You can't leave a whole class by the wayside with an interim, because then you're just recruiting kids who have no clue who the next coach is going to be. Then you're recruiting kids who are like, well, why would I go there when I could go to Ohio State or Notre Dame or, Alabama or anything like that? Like, the interim, I think, would be an awful decision. And not just because it's Poggi, because I don't think much of him as a head coach at this point after what he did at Charlotte, but just because you're setting your program back to a point where it has to become super portal reliant, and you don't really have to do that at Michigan, or you shouldn't have to do that at Michigan.
You're essentially forfeiting a recruiting class. That is detrimental in this day and age, even with the portal.
But you know what's worse is having the wrong head coach locked up for multiple years.
That's why LSU can Kelly the way it is.
That can bury you longer than this. So I think that you are right that an interim could do a lot of damage. But I I think you may have to if your alternative is to not hire a good head coach.
To rush one.
Yeah. So it's a tough. You may be right, but that's a tough spot.
And while I did mention that like Michigan and Stanford had different academic priorities, Michigan thinks of itself, like I said, very highly when it comes to
But
academics.
your point was right. Their players are not all. They have some players that are there because it's Michigan and Michigan academics,
Right.
and then they have other players that are there because they got billionaires pouring money into the NIL war chest.
Exactly. Ian's right.
So, yeah.
So what about on the field? Because Texas is supposed to play them in a couple of weeks.
20 days.
Yeah, 20 days.
We'll see if they even. I mean, they could still back out, right?
Don't say that. Don't speak that into existence. We need a game, Ian.
I think if they were going to back out, they would not have immediately named Poggi as
No.
interim.
If they were going to back out, I think they would have announced it along with some of this other stuff over the course of the last 24 hours. I don't think Michigan, after all the flack Notre Dame and a dozen other schools took for bowing out of a bowl game, the last thing Michigan needs to do is go, oh, yeah, by the way, that quarterback we gave $5 million, you're not going to get to see him on New Year's Eve.
I mean, I don't think they want people to see that guy. They want people to forget.
Well, guess what? Lane Kiffin's in Baton Rouge now, and Lane Kiffin's already going to be on that speed dial. So
yeah, that's true.
Tough stuff.
Mitigating circumstances.
I think if they didn't want to play the game, they would have dragged their feet on Poggi being named interim.
I don't know if Michigan knows what they want right now.
No, it's so much of a vacuum. And honestly, that may be the thing. It's like, well, let's have one North Star and that we have to get ready for a football game and not just leave everybody by the wayside. You know, if you have one thing you can – that's what I kind of wrote about this yesterday. And you know, is this going to be going through the motions like, yay, free trip to Orlando? Or could this be a galvanizing thing? And the odds of one happening are a lot higher than the other. Yeah. And I think it's the – bad result for Michigan being a lot more likely, but it could still galvanize them and be like, you know what, we don't need Sharon Moore, because apparently they all knew stuff like this was going on anyway. Like we don't need Sharon Moore. We can go win on our own. So I'm curious.
It could be possible right now for the Michigan like donors and athletics minded people to like grab the steering wheel, try to make a big hire, and kind of push something on an administration that is not like on top of its game right now anyway, because they don't even have an official president. But then you've got this thing where it's like, do we even keep Ward Manuel as the athletic director?
I don't think.
And I don't know if there is we'll find out if that guy has supporters still. Because if you have a civil war over whether to get rid of this guy or not, then it's going to be hard to then also
do the next thing.
Align everybody for the next big decision.
Align everybody for the next big, yes.
I think if I am Ward Manuel, I am printing as many copies of the AP basketball poll as I can. Be like, Dusty May, look, I got that guy, and just hope and pray that there are enough basketball-minded people who are like, okay, yeah, it's fine. And I don't know if that exists at Michigan.
Bayline told him to hire that guy.
One of my best friends is a big Michigan guy, Michigan alum. And when I texted him about this yesterday, the first thing he said was, yeah, but we're awesome in basketball. And
that goes a little bit further there than it does in Texas.
It really does. It really does. Even though Michigan's a football school, the basketball program has actually kind of had as much success, if not more, over the last 20, 30 years.
As far as on the field goes, we'll see with opt-outs. Paul had a really good article the other day about how, here are some players considering it, or who should consider it. I think he had about six or so on there.
That number's going up.
Yeah, that number is definitely going to go way, way up. The thing is, Sharon Moore was our offensive play caller. Like, he wore the hat that start war. And, he was their O-line coach. They did have a full-time O-line coach, but he was a full-time play caller in addition to head coach and all that stuff. And so there is a little bit of, and I'm writing about this, there is a little bit of a place they can look to. Central Michigan game this year, Nebraska game this year, because Sharon had to serve a 2-game suspension for, granted, different reasons, but he had to serve a 2-game suspension. They clobbered Central Michigan. They ran for like 380 yards and 8 touchdowns. And like 5 of the touchdowns were either like 4 yards or 1 yards. So that tells you a little bit about like what the drive chart looked like. But then they played Nebraska, and I haven't been able to dive into the Nebraska thing quite yet. They won that one, I think 30-27. And Ian, I'm kind of curious if you can go through what Sharon Moore kind of thinks as a play caller right now, especially with Bryce Underwood, and maybe, what to think about with Chip Lindsey more than likely stepping into that play calling role for this game.
I don't know about what Sharon Moore is thinking about right now.
True.
Not pounding Texas, probably.
Hashtag smash.
Probably wondering what they're bringing him for breakfast.
It's sad, man.
They are
so sad. Like, that's the thing. It is sad.
I don't know. Normally Michigan's MO is to hammer people with the power run game. And they have like a 6'5" athletically limited receiver that they'll just kind of throw it up to. And then they have a very good athletic freshman named Andrew Marsh
from Houston,
who everybody is going to be circling as like vultures to poach out of there. If he plays, then they have that play action dimension as well. So this could be a where you go in there and you're like, Michigan is totally disorganized. We're going to just go and show up and whip them. And then they come out and then they just like hammer Texas with this power run game. And Texas has been like partying in Orlando for a week and they just get bowled over. Or it could be Michigan is like, let's just show up, party in Orlando for a week and get out of here. You don't know.
Let's run clock,
Let's run clock. Yeah.
They probably won't let Bryce throw the ball that much, so there's not any more good tape to put in for his portal stuff.
He was already I think he was already angling for maybe another opportunity somewhere else. Isn't there some rumor about that?
Was he really? I thought they handed him the keys and pretty much let him do what he wanted.
Portnoy was like, we're not going to.
No, we're not referencing mouth breathers.
But he was referencing a story that did not originate with him.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. If anything's filtered through him, the filter is clogged.
I don't have a big idea on Portnoy either way, but you know what his intentions are with everything he says.
Exactly. And the fact that he was calling John Gruden out to be murdered the other day, like, you can't take anything serious. That guy is you can't listen to anything that guy says.
About anything
about
Michigan.
Anything. Trash, man. Some humans look for that side of it. No, man, go the other direction.
Ian, we think one or maybe both of those running backs are going to opt out. Justice Haynes and
Haynes
hurt, right?
Haynes may not even be healthy.
And he was good early.
Man, if I were Haynes, I definitely would not rush back from his injury to play in a bowl game for a program like this right now.
Ian's nailing it. Yep.
Even without this, I think he would still.
And the other back's good.
Jordan Marshall, he's great.
Yeah, he's a hammer too, isn't he?
Yeah, Haynes is like fast. And
right. He transferred from Bama. Remember, I think it was Bama that he transferred from. And I remember Texas actually recruiting him in high school. That kid was a blur.
Yeah, he's great, but there's no way he plays.
Bama missed him this year badly. Oh, man, because Shamari Miller couldn't stay healthy. Oh, Alabama missed him badly.
Yeah. I would assume that we see Marshall, but like I said, keep an eye on Michigan for the next couple of weeks because a lot could change.
All right, real quick, this will be the last thing. You have to pick a new head coach for Michigan. You can snap your fingers and make it so. Who are you picking?
Jim Harbaugh.
Okay. All right.
If you're not going to give me realistic parameters, then I just
that's fine. No, I'm with you.
Does he have like 3 years of show cause left?
Well,
again, I'm not giving realistic parameters.
I think it only hit because they were talking about hiring Mentor, and Mentors is up in April.
Yeah.
So
Rich Rod.
If Jim's is the same, then I would work with that. 3 years. 3 years is a lot. Still might do it,
dude. It's time to bring Les Miles home.
Thank you very much. Have a great day. Y'all remember that press conference?
I do. That was 2007, year they made their little run.
Oh my gosh. I'll cop out and I'll pick who I think it's going to end up being. I think you go.
Say it.
Brian Kelly.
No.
Listen, Brian Kelly is going to have to forfeit a lot of money if he took that job.
No, I thought it was fully guaranteed or 85% guaranteed.
But unless he takes it, I thought it was contingent if he takes another job within the next 12 months or whatever.
I think that's right.
There's always I don't know for sure, but there's always little clauses in that. But look, if Brian Kelly doesn't have that, Joe, you may win the prize.
He's either got a duty to mitigate. He's also like 64 or something like that. So
I love that he just hangs out in Baton Rouge now and just pigs out and drinks at bars and just shoots with stuff. Man. Like, you know what, man? That dude got his full guarantee. He got the Art Briles treatment. He got a full buyout. Your life is different from that moment on.
Yeah, I don't think he's I don't know if he's got
the juice. Got that in him.
Yeah.
I'll say this, he's made more for that school than he was for LSU.
I do think that I doubt it. He's tasted the comfortable life now. I do think that you're on the right track, that Michigan could end up looking at options like that. Like, well, what about Brian Kelly?
Yeah, who's not doing anything.
And what's Matt Campbell thinking, his agent right now? His agent is like, this is the worst timing in my job's life.
The agent he just hired this year, probably.
I think he actually may have been saved from himself, because I think Penn State is actually the better fit for him.
Okay.
From Ames to State College is a lot closer than Ann Arbor.
I agree.
From what I understand of Ames, it's not a lot. And then to walk into this mess at Michigan, I think
that's a good point. It's a cleaner mess for him to clean up.
And to be hounding like culture at a place at Michigan that you see what the head coach is doing right now, it's hard for that to stand up. Whereas I think, that's something that the internal locker room culture, I think that's what James Franklin was good at. Like, he could get those guys playing hard. He just didn't get them over the top. And the exterior culture of Penn State fans hating that he lost all these one-score games, that's a different story. But the interior stuff seemed fine, which is why I think he'll do well at Virginia Tech. So this will be fun to watch. And unfortunately, we don't have any other football games unless y'all got an FCS thing going on. But
what's going on this? Are there any games this weekend?
There's Army Navy.
Oh yeah. Oh God, yeah. When does the first round of the playoffs? Is that 2 weeks?
It may have started. Oh, college. I'm thinking FCS. It's the 20th. It's the 19th and 20th, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, 19th and 20th, because the Friday night game is in Norman.
And then Saturday, and game day's going to both. Okay, for some reason, I thought that was a lot sooner. But no, you're right. I forgot about Army Navy this weekend. That's always a good game, man. Hey, that's a bucket list game for me personally. I would love to be able to head up to Philly and see that.
Philly, DC, Baltimore, wherever.
Well, they keep it in Philly most of the time.
It rotates. Philly, DC, Baltimore.
Okay. I thought Philadelphia had it majority of the time. Okay.
Oh man. So, oh no, bad start to the Colin Klein era and retaining Matt. Oh, never mind. Good start. He's not retaining Matt Wells. That's enough carousel for today. So, but if you want to talk carousel, you need to go to InsideTexas.com, join for $1, use that QR code right there, sign up. Can't wait to talk about all the different stuff going on in the world of college football and the world of Texas football with y'all over on Inside Texas. So, Ian, Justin, thank y'all so much. Thank you for watching. See you next time on IT Live, presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors.